Celebrities' fear of their own homes is understandable. At night, the ghost of Michael Jackson wanders around Neverland Ranch. Screams are heard coming from the bedroom where Marilyn Monroe passed away. Women in white vanish through hidden tunnels at the Playboy mansion. The rumors surrounding these 23 properties are so sinister that celebrities attempt to conceal them. The ghosts, murders, and unexplained phenomena in these houses make their owners want to flee. Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch had the feel of a fantasy right out of a fairy tale. Located in the Santa Ynez Valley of California on 2,700 acres, it was more than just a house. A movie theater, a petting zoo, a private amusement park, and even a flower clock at the gate were all features. There was a train station on the estate that looked like something from a fairy tale. It was Jackson's haven, a fantasy world designed to bring him back to the childhood he never experienced. However, Neverland has a far darker backstory beneath the illusion. Jackson transformed the area into a utopia after purchasing it in 1988. He made it seem like a place that had been stuck in time by filling it with statues of kids and carnival attractions. However, Neverland gained notoriety in the 1990s for another reason. Jackson was accused of mistreating children on the site. Police stormed the ranch in 2003. Even though Jackson was later found not guilty in court, the charges had a lasting impact. He gave up on Neverland by 2005. Silence fell over the amusement park. Rust covered the carousels. The sculptures, which had been happy, now stood in a strange silence. In 2009, Jackson passed away, making the ranch even more eerie. According to a video taken that year, there was a mysterious figure within the mansion, generating claims that Jackson's ghost was still wandering the corridors. The Playboy Mansion. Secrets, parties, and grandeur were hallmarks of the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles. In 1971, Hugh Hefner purchased the 1927 Gothic Tudor Manor, transforming it into the ultimate playground for celebrities and the wealthy. The home featured 29 rooms, hidden corridors, and a wine cellar from the Prohibition era. The most well-known feature was the grotto, a hot tub encircled by caverns and waterfalls where innumerable celebrity parties were held. However, the estate had an odd and unsettling reputation beneath the glitz. There were rumors that the estate had underground tunnels that connected it to the residences of local celebrities. Warren Beatty, Jack Nicholson, and other celebrities allegedly had private tunnels that led directly to their doors. Although a lot of people thought this was just an urban legend, the mansion did include secret rooms and concealed doorways, enhancing its sense of mystery. Former playmates also related odd stories. Holly Madison previously claimed that she frequently felt as though someone was observing her. Bridget Marquardt claimed to have seen an enigmatic woman dressed for the gym pass by her before disappearing. Employees said that when no one was there, doors would slam and arcade games would switch on by themselves. The tale about the first owner of the mansion was among the most unsettling. According to legend, a woman died in the 1930s after falling or being forced from a balcony. Throughout the years, both visitors and employees reported seeing her ghost, a woman dressed in white, moving around the hallways. The home made news in 2011 for another reason. The renowned hot tub became something out of a horror movie when more than 100 visitors contracted Legionnaire's disease from an epidemic connected to the grotto. Hefner passed away in 2017. And the mansion was sold. Even if its wildest days were past, its reputation persisted. Drive Cielo. A picture-perfect house in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles, was located on Cielo Drive. Nestled at the end of a quiet lane, amid pine trees, was a one-story home with a delightful French country design that was built in 1942. But its beauty would be forgotten after August 9, 1969. It became the scene of one of the most heinous crimes in Hollywood that night. Dramatist Sharon Tate and her husband, director Roman Polanski, were renting the house. Tate was 8 months along in her pregnancy. The residence was broken into by 4 of Charles Manson's followers when Polanski was traveling in Europe. They attacked viciously, killing Tate and 4 others. Before they went, they wrote the word pig on the front door using Tate's blood. Hollywood was horrified by the crime and permanently altered how people perceived the glitzy environment of the city. Few people desired to reside at 10,050 Cielo Drive following the killings. According to several visitors, the home itself seemed to remember the horror, with a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. According to the neighbors, their dogs would not pass the fence because they felt something was not there. The property was rented and converted into a recording studio by Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails in the 1990s. He even dubbed the studio pig after the notorious statement written in blood. However, he eventually felt the place's weight as well. He picked up the entrance door as a memento before departing. It was later given back. The owner made the decision in 1994 to forget the house's troubled background. After having it demolished, he constructed a new home on the property, changing the address to 10,066 Cielo Drive. People, however, never forgot. Oman House. Television producer David Oman constructed this contemporary house in 2002, yet despite its modernity, the soil beneath it has a troubled past. As soon as he got in, Oman began to notice odd occurrences. The doors opened by themselves. Things moved when no one was around. Voices spoke in the night, disembodied. Certain rooms gave some guests a sense of a heavy presence. Others had abrupt lightheadedness or nausea, as though the air was altered. A room that has been hollowed out of the hillside is one of the house's most eerie locations. Many people think that because the floor is just bare earth, paranormal energy can flow through it. Standing here, people frequently feel watched or feel ill all of a sudden. Oman, who was captivated by the unusual activity, set up recording devices to document whatever was occurring. In the years, he has recorded ghostly whispers. Moving throughout the home were luminous orbs and mysterious shadows. Oman thinks the victims of the Manson murders are still haunted by their ghosts. Ghost Adventures and My Ghost Story teams are among the paranormal investigators and psychics that have visited the residence. A mysterious apparition was once seen at the foot of Oman's bed when he woke up. As though attempting to communicate, the spirit appeared to be pointing. Oman saw a picture of JC a few months later. Brink. From his bedroom, and identified him as one of the fatalities. In the mansion, visitors have experienced the touch of invisible hands. Some people have heard sounded cries. In seances, mediums say they have communicated with the ghost of Sharon Tate. She is described as both protective and melancholy. Because Oman believes the ghosts are drawn to the house, he has learned to cope with the odd activities. Saudi Arabia's home. A mansion that appears to be from an old legend exists in Los Feliz. The Soden House is a magnificent Mayan revival palace that Lloyd Wright, the son of Frank Lloyd Wright, planned and constructed in 1926. Its opening is open-mouthed and jagged, like a predator's fanged jaws. People marveled at its beauty for decades. Its past, however, turned into something more darker over time. The home was owned by Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy doctor from Los Angeles with an enigmatic past, in the 1940s. The home featured secret tunnels, hidden rooms, and even a basement that some people think was utilized for clandestine surgery. In 1947, one of Hollywood's most horrific and unsolved murders occurred, the murder of aspiring actress Elizabeth Short. This case was dubbed the Black Dahlia murder. A homicide detective who was Dr. Hodel's own son eventually implicated his father of her murder. His hypothesis was that Short had been killed within the Soden home after being tortured. The home was permanently tarnished by the claim, even if the evidence was never sufficient to prove it. The mansion has a stifling, weighty vibe, according to visitors. A spectral woman has been sighted by several in the hallways. Near the basement, others have a profound sensation of melancholy. The appearance of cold areas is random. There are flickering shadows where there is no light. Insiders in Hollywood speculated about what might have happened inside for decades. The house sat silently after Dr. Hodel left the country, its mysteries hidden inside its walls. Greystone Mansion towers above the Beverly Hills hills like a traditional haunted home. Constructed in 1928, this magnificent Tudor-style home features 55 rooms, sweeping staircases, and secret passageways. Edward Doheny, an oil magnate, gave it to his son, Ned Doheny Jr. But tragedy hit a few months after they moved in. On February 16, 1929, Ned was discovered shot dead in a guest room above. Also deceased was Hugh Plunkett, his longtime personal secretary. According to the official narrative, Plunkett shot Ned during a dispute and then shot himself. However, rumors of a cover-up quickly began to circulate. Some people thought Ned had shot Hugh. Some believed a third party had been involved. One of the biggest unresolved mysteries in Los Angeles to this day is the case. Something remained in the mansion after the Doheny family had fled. For decades, people have been reporting strange things. There is no reason why lights flicker on and off. In halls without windows, chilly breezes blow through. When no one is around, nighttime security personnel have overheard whispered talks. There have been reports of a man in a 1920s outfit wandering the hallways before vanishing into thin air. The old bowling alley in the estate is another haunting location. It has been reported that even in empty rooms, people can hear mild laughter and the sound of rolling balls. Film teams that use Greystone as a set frequently come away with eerie tales. A member of the team claimed to have seen someone monitoring them from the balcony. No one was there when they looked. Jean Harlow's home. 2 months after getting married to Jean Harlow in 1932, Paul Byrne, an executive at MGM, was discovered dead in the master bedroom. A pistol by his side, a gunshot to the head. Rumors circulated, but his death was officially declared a suicide. Some thought he had been murdered by an ex-lover. Others believed that the studio concealed something. Jean Harlow left the mansion after being saddened, but the shadow of the house followed her everywhere. Because she felt like someone was monitoring her, she wouldn't walk upstairs by herself. She passed away at the age of 26 from renal failure only 5 years later. One more Hollywood star that passed all too soon. The gloomy history of the house took an unsettling turn in 1966. Celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring. The residence was owned by actress Sharon Tate's friend. Sharon spent a night at the house. She was haunted by what she had experienced. In the middle of the night, she woke up to find a short, spectral man standing in her bedroom. She rushed into the hallway, terrified. Then she caught sight of something worse. A figure with its throat cut, bound to the stairway. She refused to believe it was a dream. There were many who thought she had seen Paul Byrne's spirit. For others, it was a warning. Hollywood's first major home, the Pickfair home, was constructed in Beverly Hills in 1919. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, silent cinema stars, owned a 22-room Tudor-style home called Pickfair. Their gatherings were legendary. Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin, as well as F. Among the visitors was Scott Fitzgerald. However, some people think that some people stayed. According to Mary Pickford, there was a ghost in the house in the 1930s. She and Douglas Fairbanks noticed a woman strolling the hallways wearing an antique clothing. She once stood at the foot of Fairbanks' bed when he woke up. Mary had a priest bless the house because she was so afraid, but the spirit persisted. The house was sold in 1979, following Mary's passing. Actress and singer Pia Zadora moved in with her family in the 1980s. Things worsened after that. Pia's little kid woke up one night yelling. Over her bed, she claimed, a tall, white ghostly woman had been laughing. Pia herself soon heard laughing reverberating throughout the home. A silhouette in a flowing gown caught her attention on the stairway. There were flickering lights. The doors banged shut by themselves. The faucets kicked on their own. The family was certain that the ghost they were seeing was the same one Mary Pickford had seen decades before. The haunting got unbearable. Pia Zadora took an unexpected turn in 1990. She destroyed the Pickfair. The ancient home's destruction infuriated many. She first said termites were to blame, but then she acknowledged the ghost was to blame. She said you can handle plumbing and termites, but you can't handle the paranormal. A few outbuildings and the ancient gates are all that are left. Some claim that the white woman's spirit is still there close to the entryway. At night, some people have reported hearing laughter close to the ancient gates. In the past, Pickfair was a representation of Hollywood glitz. It is now regarded as Hollywood's most well-known ghost story. Harriet and Ozzy's home. One of the most watched television programs in the 1950s was The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet. The Nelson family was more than just a family drama. They were a legitimate family residing in their actual Hollywood Hills house. The house turned into a representation of joy. Odd things began to happen, however, after Ozzy Nelson passed away there in 1975. Ghostly activity has been reported by every owner thereafter. At night, doors would be closed, but in the morning, they would be open. The bed linens would be removed when guests woke up. Then the air would suddenly smell of roses, Harriet Nelson's favorite perfume. The television was independent. On its own, it switched on and frequently played Harriet and Ozzy reruns. When no one was home late at night, the TV in the den would turn on, according to actress Tori Spelling, who lived there in the 1980s. The old black and white shows were continually playing. To ensure the spirits were happy, one owner even engaged a paranormal investigator before purchasing the house. The ghost of a nice-looking man wearing a cardigan sweater has been seen by visitors in the corridor upstairs. The look that Ozzy Nelson is known for. Some people have even experienced a lighthearted tap on the shoulder while no one else was around. Chris Maloney, an actor, was told about the ghost but remained unconcerned when he purchased the house in 2014. The ghost appeared to be more playful than menacing. The mansion of Menendez murder. 722 North Elm Drive was formerly a representation of success in Beverly Hills. The Mediterranean-style estate was constructed in the 1920s and had a large foyer, a circular driveway, and a party-ready lawn. However, on August 20, 1989, it was turned into a crime scene. Lyle and Eric Menendez went into the den that evening as their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, were watching television. They fired, armed with shotguns in 12-gauge. The assault was vicious. Jose took a bullet to the back of his head. Kitty was struck more than once. She was so badly damaged that she was almost unrecognizable. Although the brothers claimed to have arrived home to discover their parents dead, suspicions were aroused by their post-murder spending patterns. They purchased pricey vehicles and watches, and they even took lavish vacations. Soon, the truth was revealed. They had prearranged the killings and acted out their response. The trial gained widespread attention, and their residence gained notoriety. People didn't want to live there for years. People who entered the house, particularly in the den where the murders occurred, reported feeling unpleasant even after renovations. No one else was present when a child who was visiting the residence inquired about the dejected man in the living room, according to a later resident who recalled a terrifying incident. The property number was altered by real estate agents to deter crime tourists, but the mansion's history was never forgotten. It brought over $17 million when it sold in 2024. The home's Sinister past endures despite the absence of any recognized ghosts. Because they did not want a murder home attraction in their neighborhood, the locals opposed any designation as a landmark. Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home. Brentwood was meant to be Marilyn Monroe's haven. It was a comfortable Spanish colonial home with white stucco walls and red-tiled roofs, the first home she ever owned. However, it also turned out to be where her life ended. Marilyn died from an overdose and was discovered dead in her bedroom on August 5, 1962. She was 36. A telephone was in her hand. The world was stunned. Did it happen by accident? An act of suicide? Conspiracy? No one really knows. Once alive with Marilyn's colorful personality, the house seemed to have been trapped in time. The master bedroom's owners later claimed to have an eerie feeling, as though someone was watching. For many years, fans would leave candles and flowers at the gate, attracted to the house where she was eventually laid to rest. Marilyn's spirit, according to many, never departed. Late at night, reports of a blonde person passing through the trees have surfaced. Sometimes a breathy, gentle voice floats across the atmosphere, as though talking to anybody who will listen. One owner in the 1970s said she frequently heard humming at dark near the patio fountain, which was Marilyn's favorite spot to sit. A peculiar energy was mentioned by contractors in the 2000s. One crew declined to work in the main bedroom by themselves. An electrician vowed that even after rewiring the house, the lights in that room would still switch on by themselves. Preservationists fought back in 2017 when new buyers intended to demolish the house. The home was guaranteed to survive after being designated a historic landmark. There have been fewer recorded disturbances since. Marilyn might have finally found peace. However, some people still think she's out there, hunting for a conversation partner in her garden. The estate of Paramore. A home straight out of a fantasy, the Paramore estate is situated on the hills of Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Constructed in 1923, this 22,000-square-foot Mediterranean revival property boasts a ballroom, beautiful gardens, and a stunning city outlook. It has a reputation, nonetheless, in spite of its beauty. It is referred to as Hollywood's most haunted recording studio. The first owners of the property were oil heiress Daisy Canfield and her silent cinema star spouse Antonio Moreno. They hosted lavish parties that lasted into the early hours of the morning to amuse the elite of Hollywood. The happy days, however, were short-lived. On February 23, 1933, Daisy's automobile swerved down Mulholland Drive on her way home from a party. Her death was immediate. According to some, her soul made a comeback to the house she cherished. Following Daisy's passing, the home was converted into a Catholic girls' school and then a convent. The story started at that point. Students murmured that a nun had been thrown down the grand staircase or had collapsed. Rumors circulated that her ghost was prowling the hallways and showing up close to the stairs in the middle of the night, but no official documents supported this. After purchasing the estate in the late 1990s, hotelier Dana Hollister converted it into a recording studio and boutique hotel. Despite their fondness for the place, musicians didn't always stay. They were uneasy about something about the house. The rock group Papa Roach stayed at the Paramore in 2005 to make an album. Strange activity was almost immediately felt by them. Doors banged by themselves. The lights flickered for no apparent reason. When the bassist of the band awoke, a woman was there in his room. Nobody else was present. As though invisible eyes were always observing, he also spoke of a heavy presence in the house. The Black Parade, an album that would go on to become a legend, was recorded by My Chemical Romance in the mansion a year later. Frontman Gerard Way described the property as having a gleaming aura from the beginning, likening it to the haunted hotel in Stephen King's book. Bedroom straws were drawn by the band. The Blue Room was ultimately chosen by bassist Mikey Way and proved to be the most haunted. Mikey had unidentified anxiety and horrible nightmares. He slept very little. He sensed that they were being pursued. A bathtub that was inexplicably filled with water despite no one having touched it, and doors that slammed in the middle of the night, startling the band from deep slumber. The mansion's dogs barked at vacant areas. It was too much energy in the house. Finally, believing the home was draining him, Mikey left the Paramour for his own mental health. The creepy tone of the record was influenced by the band's stay in the Paramour, they subsequently acknowledged. They claimed that the atmosphere in that haunted house truly resembled a dark parade. It was looking right at us every time we turned a corner. In spite of the rumors, the mansion continues to host high-profile events, music films, and weddings. Although the proprietors don't promote its eerie history, rumors have circulated. It is currently regarded as one of the busiest ghost sites in Los Angeles by paranormal investigators. Some think the ghost of Daisy Canfield is to blame. Others believe that something ancient has been rekindled by the musician's creative force. It has been observed by guests that late at night, a woman wearing a white gown glides around the ballroom floor. Is it Daisy or another individual? Whatever the reality, the Paramour estate makes an impression. There are many who claim they never really leave. Chateau Marmont. Hollywood's most infamous hideaway since 1929 is the Chateau Marmont, a Gothic-style hotel that towers over Sunset Boulevard. Originally constructed as a complex of apartments, it was quickly converted into a hotel. Stars could hide from the public and do as they wanted here. Harry Cohn, the president of Columbia Pictures, famously advised his actors to work at the Chateau Marmont if they were going to get into trouble. They did, too. The hotel become a playground for the wealthy and well-known, where scandals, wild parties, and affairs took place. But it has a darker reputation as well. On March 5, 1982, comedian John Belushi overdosed on a lethal combination of cocaine and heroin while residing in Bungalow 3. It was only his 33rd birthday. His passing rocked Hollywood. However, the subsequent events were even more bizarre. Following Belushi's death, visitors who stayed in Bungalow 3 observed odd activities. The most famous story is told by comedian and future lawmaker Al Franken. Belushi's ghost was looming over him when he woke up in the middle of the night while he was staying in the bungalow shortly after her death. Before his gaze, the form dwindled. Strange experiences were reported by other guests. On their own, TVs switched to live Saturday night programming. The air was filled with the familiar smell of Belushi, sweat and cigarettes, but it had no source. When visitors turned around, the shadowy figure that had appeared in the mirror vanished. At the chateau, however, Belushi's ghost is not the only one. According to some, the hotel is infused with the spirit of innumerable Hollywood catastrophes. One of the apartments was where a young actor passed away in the 1930s. Front desk employees have since heard phantom knocks on room 79, but they have never found anyone there. There have been instances of the foyer grand piano playing a single note by itself late at night. Some claim it is the spirit of Sergei Rachmaninoff, a composer who stayed there. Numerous deaths have occurred at Chateau Marmont over the years. In 2004, fashion photographer Helmut Newton lost his life in a car accident in the hotel driveway. In the 1960s, Nick Murray, an actor, fell from a balcony. Many overdoses and suicides have been reported, although many are kept under wraps to preserve the hotel's aura of mystery. Celebrities continue to love the chateau despite its past. There, the legacy of Hollywood persists, and it is hard to distinguish between ghost story and legend. This is Benedict Canyon by George Reeves. For millions of people, George Reeves was a hero. In the television series of the 1950s, he was Superman, representing justice and truth. But his life ended abruptly and inexplicably on June 16, 1959. At 1579 Benedict Canyon Drive, he resided in a modest two-story home with an old-fashioned English cottage style that was constructed in the 1930s. The location was serene and away from the limelight of Hollywood. However, after that evening, it changed. A crime scene, a ghost story, and a bit of the shady past of Hollywood. Reeves had been shot in the head and was discovered in his bedroom upstairs. After prompt arrival, police determined it was a suicide. Although the case ought to have been concluded, there were skepticism. Reeves had been down. He had halted in his career. He was sick of being referred to be Superman alone. But the narrative didn't end there. Leonore Lemon, his fiancée, was downstairs when the gun went off. Some visitors were, too. Their stories did not first fit. Reeves had gone to bed furious, according to Lemon. He had been playing about with a gun earlier that evening, she added. A few of Reeves' pals didn't think he would commit suicide. Tony Mannix, his ex-lover, was married to a high-ranking MGM official. And rumors circulated that Reeves had been killed. Reeves's body had bruises on it. The floor was punctured with several bullet wounds. Nevertheless, no thorough inquiry was conducted. The case was still up for debate. As time passed, the mystery only deepened. Soon after, the new owners of the residence began to notice oddities. A little child told his parents he saw a stranger in his room, but he had no idea who George Reeves was. The child stated he wore a weird costume. His parents initially didn't give it much thought. He pointed and remarked, "That's him," however, once he later saw a picture of Reeves dressed as Superman. Then the sounds started. In Reeves' former bedroom, footsteps reverberated from the ceiling in the same location every time. A tremendous thud occasionally sounded, as if someone had dropped to the ground from a high height. Upstairs, the boy's mother heard a strong voice one evening. There were no men in the home. Growling at nothing, the dog stood in the corridor. Owners later also experienced odd things. The lights shut off on their own. There was a persistent cold spot close to the second-floor landing. Even a dark figure at the top of the stairs was spotted by several visitors. On several evenings, particularly during the anniversary of Reeves' passing, neighbors reported hearing a single gunshot coming from the residence. There has always been a sinister past to Benedict Canyon. Minutes later, 10 years later, the Tate murders occurred. A nearby mansion that was formerly owned by Jean Harlow was involved in a sad Hollywood scandal of its own. The entire canyon is said to be cursed. Some people think that too many lives were lost there.